Yeah, I'm back, sorry. So last time we discussed about exception handling, normal termination, abnormal termination, syntax error, runtime error, and exception, right? When you can say the program is like terminated like normal, very simple. In your program, starting to ending, each and every statement got executed, then you can say it's a normal termination. When you can say abnormal, just vice versa. In your program, starting to ending, all the statements if not executed, then you can say like a it's a abnormal termination. What is syntax error? If you not follow the guidelines. For example, if you write print 1, after that print 2, after that print 3. If you write like this, tell me what happened. Okay, this statement valid, but this statement syntactically invalid or not. Okay, this statement again it's like valid. Okay, if it is like an invalid, then the time the valid statement is not executed, first it is going to check each and every statement syntactically valid or not at the time of compilation. If any statement is not followed the guidelines or rules, then the time it is not start the execution, it runs. Okay, it is okay. Come on, it is throws a syntax error or not. Whenever you get the syntax error, okay, there is no logics, nothing. You should have to follow the guideline. What is the guideline? Okay, this statement is not follow. Whenever you call a function print, you should have to call like this. Okay, that is the one. Agree with me? Now, what is runtime error? What is runtime error? In your program, due to some logic, okay, due to some logic, if you get some error, for example, okay, print 1, after that print location, after that print 2. Now tell me, this particular program, if you observe, okay, these statements, if you observe, syntactically valid or invalid? First tell me, syntactically valid or invalid? See, print function called, print called, syntactically 100% valid, syntactically 100% valid, yes, no? Okay, so if you observe, once my syntax is correct, now it is going to start running. Okay, now print 1, yes, 1 printed. Now what about this one? What about this one? Into 1, no? 1 printed. What about this one? What about this one? Print location. Okay, now tell me, is my location is there or not there? Print location. Location is there or not there? Location is there or not there? Location is not there, so that you can get the error is like what? Name location is not defined. You can get an error, name location is not defined. Now tell me, it is like syntax error, or at the time of execution you get the error? Now the output is what? First, 1 printed at the time of execution, syntactically valid. 1 printed. After that, the name LOC is not defined. The exception, okay, that means runtime error occurred or not? Runtime error. Yes, no. At the time of execution, if you get any error, it causes, okay, your program is like what? Interrupted, or it causes terminate your program like abnormal. That kind of errors we can say like a runtime errors. Okay, at the time of executing the program, if you get any error, those are like what? Runtime errors or not. Now tell me, what is an exception? Okay, one word answer, one line answer you can tell. You can simply tell any runtime error. Okay, at the time of executing your program, any runtime error we can say like a exception or not. Any runtime error we can say like a exception. Understood everyone up to here? Now let me open our workspace folder. File, open folder. This is here now. Yes, exception handling. Let's start. Now the last program is like what? You got the runtime error or not? Now if you write, okay, in the serial order, just you can practice. if you write this particular, if you execute these particular statements, can anyone tell me what exactly the error you can get it? Is like syntax error or like is like a runtime error? Is like syntax error or runtime error? Otherwise, you can write print
Run.
print location, next print, okay, something like this. If I remove this one, now what happened, if you run py py1, okay, file.py py now you can see syntax error or not. Okay, first these two statements are valid, but the third statement is like syntactically invalid. Whenever syntax error, get it, okay, it's not taught the execution. Every syntax error is like fixed zero count. Syntax error like zero, then only it is going to start the execution or not. But here we have a syntax error printer, okay, never closed, so it is like syntax error. Now you can fix the syntax error. Okay, now syntax errors no logic, you should have to follow the rules, that's it. Now if you run this one, now tell me, is it like having any syntax errors by seeing these statements? No, right? Now if you run this one, okay, now see this, one printed, one printed, the next one is like what, name loc is not defined. And did you observe this one? See, there has name error, one name also there, name error is there. What is this name error? That is our discussion. The name error, what is this name error? That is our discussion. Understood? Come on. Now can you come here? Okay, fourth one if you see, now syntactically it is like valid or invalid. Syntactically it is like valid. So first statement is like one, second statement is like two printed, third statement is like division by zero, it throws a runtime error or not. But if you observe here, zero division error, what is this zero division error? What is this name error? Okay, there has some other place, some other error also you can get it. These all are what, these all are what, that is our next level discussion. Got my point? Agreed? Okay. Okay, then what is exception? You said you can say the answer is like runtime error. You can say like an exception. Whenever exception raised, if you leave like this only, if you leave like this only, then that time is my thought statement will execute or not execute in the entire life. Whenever the exception raised, that means whenever the runtime error, okay, whenever you get the runtime error, whenever the exception raised, okay, now tell me, if you not handle that exception properly, this particular statement will execute or not execute? This particular statement is execute or not execute? Come on, this particular statement execute or not execute? This particular statement will never execute or not. Okay, so if you leave like this, always my program is like what, terminated like abnormal. After that, how many statements are there? Those statements will never execute. So exception raised, runtime error is nothing but exception raised. Okay, but exception, okay, exception, if you not handled properly, exception raised, if the exception is not handled properly, then that time, okay, if the exception is not handled properly, then that time, okay, the remaining statements will not execute, my program terminated like abnormal or not. So don't leave that exceptions. Now can you handle that exceptions? Can you handle that exceptions? For what purpose? Okay, for what purpose you want me to handle that exception? I want to execute remaining statements and I want to provide a graceful termination. I want to provide a normal termination to my program or not. If it is terminated like abnormal, what is the use of remaining statements? Okay, what is the use of remaining statements? What you written? Okay, you should not leave like this. Whenever the exception raised, you should have to handle that exception properly and you have to provide a graceful termination to your program or not. Okay, that handling, we can say the concept is like what? Exception handling or not. Whenever the exception raised, my program terminated like abnormal. So don't live like that. Okay, can you handle that exception? Can you provide a graceful termination to your program? Can you provide a normal termination to your program? If you provide a normal termination, then that time each and every statement starting to ending, each and every statement got executed or not. agreed? Okay, now the question is like how to handle the exception. This is the question or not. If you want to handle the exception in any programming language, we have some keywords out there. Like Python also, we have some keywords. What keywords, you know? One is like try, another one is like expect, okay, expect, and another one is like finally, the next one is like rise. Like this, some keywords are there. By using this, we can handle the exceptions properly. And rise, there has some other purpose. Okay, we'll see that one by one. So first, you can focus on these three. Okay, first you can focus on these two only. Okay, now very simple. First thing is like this try, you can go wherever the exception, okay, wherever the exception raised. As a developer, you know that. Okay, okay, as a developer, can you tell me, if you write the statement like this, if I write the statement like this, okay, print one, print hmm, just I can say two, next print, as I said, location, print 4, and print 5. This is the one. As a developer, you know which statement is like problematic statement. As a developer, you can come to know like which statement raises an exception. As a developer, okay, you know that which statement raises an exception. Which statement raises an exception.
Online location.
Okay, this thought statement or not. First of all, you have to find which statement rises. That means which statement is like problematic statement in your program. If you think like, okay, these statements are like problematic statements, then that time don't write the statements like normal way. Just write or keep those statements inside one block called as a try block. Okay, inside one block called as a try block. So can I keep, if it's like a block, which statement you want me to keep inside the block, you should have to follow the indentation or not. You should have to follow the indentation. Now the problematic statement, as a developer, I know, so that that particular statement I kept inside the try block. Now if I run this program again, if I run this program again, now if you see this error, okay, what is this error? It's like runtime error or syntax error. It is like runtime error or syntax error. Come on. It is like runtime error or syntax error. Mhm. It is like syntax error or not. Whenever the syntax error you get it, okay, see, you are missing like what? You are missing like, okay, expected, okay, I'm expected, except or finally blocks or not. Okay, I'm expected, okay, what accept and finally blocks or not. Only try block, it's not a valid syntax or not. So try should follow either accept block or finally block or not. So I'm going to try with both. So can I write like accept, okay, just print something like accept block, accept block. If I write like this, what happened, you only see. Okay, now syntactically valid or invalid, first you can check it. Okay, syntactically valid or invalid. Now see, did you get any syntax error? No. At the same time, did you observe one printed, two printed, and this is the problematic statement. Okay, now this one is printed and four printed and five printed. Okay, how it is going to work, we'll see that one. But did you observe one thing? Okay, your statements got executed end to end or not. That means my program terminated like normal or abnormal by seeing these statements. My program terminated like abnormal or normal. My program terminated like normal or abnormal. Tell me. My program terminated like normal or abnormal.
Hmm.
Okay, at this moment. At this moment it's like a normal termination or not. Why it is like a normal termination means, okay, see, you handle this particular exception or not. Now you can think, see, first statement, exception raised or not. In the first statement, exception raised or not raised? No. Second
No.
statement, exception raised or not? No. Third statement is a problematic statement, exception raised or not raised? Exception raised or not raised? Yes, exception raised. Whenever in the try block any statement raises an exception, immediately what happened, the corresponding except block is going to execute. Now see the corresponding except block executed or not. Yes or no? See, I'm telling like okay, happy path. After that, multiple scenarios we'll see. After that, okay, it is not to terminate your program abnormally. Why? Because you handle that exception and the next statements are executed as usual or not. Yes or no? Come on, it's a simple way, handle the exception and provide the graceful termination to your program or not. Agree with me all or? Come on. Okay, now the next one. If I write something like this. Okay, is it the recommended way of writing the code or not? Tell me. So what happened now? What is the message? That means what output you can get it? What output you can get it?
1 2 Mumbai 4 5.
1 to Mumbai 4 5 or not. Now, if you observe here, 1, it's not a problematic statement. 2, it's not a problematic statement. Location Mumbai, it's variable creation. And it is going to execute the try block or not. Print LOC. Okay, LOC there or not there? Yes, there. Exception raised or not raised in my try block. In this case, exception raised or not raised. Come on. Exception raised or not raised. It is looking for LOC. LOC there or not there? Yes, there. So that exception raised. Whenever the exception raised, okay, then only that okay, catch okay, except black is going to execute. But if exception not raised in the try block, except black executed or not executed. See this except block there or not there in the output, not there. Now, try block is not throw any exception. Okay, try block is not raised any exception. If the try block is not raised any exception, then the time my accept block will not execute. After that, remaining statements, whatever you have, those statements got executed or not. Agreed. Okay. Now my question is very simple, straight question. Okay, do you think always accept block is going to execute? Okay, the statement is valid or invalid. Do you think always the accept block is going to execute? Do you think always the accept block is going to execute?
No.
No, right? When the accept block is going to execute? Whenever the exception raised in that try block or not. Yes or no? Okay, the next question is like, do you think always try block initiate the execution? Okay, at least entered my execution flow entered into try block or not? Always. Come on.
Yeah, it's entered.
Yes, right. Always my try block, okay, initiate the execution or not. Next question is like, do you think like all the statements in the try block will execute? Do you think like all the statements in the try block will execute? Do you think all the statements in the try block will execute?
Yes.
Okay, no. Now, for example, if you take like this, okay, print okay 55. Now tell me if I run this program, now tell me, okay, will it execute or not execute? If I run this program, tell me, will it execute or not execute? If I run this program, will it execute or not execute? Line number 5. Line number 5 is not execute. Oh, I said like always try block initiate the execution, but all the statements in the try block will execute means no. Why? Because print 1 executed, print 2 executed. Line number 4, okay, try block initiate the execution. That is correct. But all the statements executed in the try block, no. Now, line number 4, the exception raised or not raised? Exception raised or not raised? Exception raised or not in this case?
Exception.
The exception raised. Whenever the exception raised, what happened? It is not execute remaining all statements in the try block. See this 55 not executed. It terminated the execution of your try block and looking for the corresponding accept block. Now it comes to the accept block. In the accept block statement got executed and remaining statements executed as usual or not. Now three statements, valid or invalid. Tell me. Every time my catch block is going to initiate the execution. Every time my catch block initiate the execution, valid or invalid. Every time my catch block initiate the execution. Okay, catch not accept, sorry. Every time my accept block initiate the execution, catch, okay, JavaScript and Java, okay, we are going to use catch. Okay, same accept. Every time the accept block is going to execute, valid or invalid.
Invalid.
Invalid. Okay, then when my accept block is going to execute?
If there is any exception in the try block,
Yeah,
then
whenever the exception raised in the try block or not. Okay, next statement. Every time my try block, okay, my try block initiate the execution. Yes, no.
yes.
Every time. Yes. Each and every statement the try block will execute. Each and every statement will execute. In that, okay, each and every statement will execute. Valid or invalid? Every statement.
Invalid.
Invalid, right? Okay, whenever the exception raised in the try block, it is immediately terminate the execution from the try block and okay, execute the accept block or not. Agreed? Did okay, everyone? Okay. Can you? Oh. What is the output? Exact output. What is the output? Is there any chance of raising an exception in the accept block? Possibility there or not there?
Yes.
Yes, there. One statement you written means that statement may cause an issue. Okay, there has a chance is there. There has a chance is there. In one statement you written means that statement is maybe raise an exception. Okay, not raise. Statement is there means there is a possibility is there. Now the output is tell me. What is my output? Can anyone? Hmm? What is my output? Okay, now see this 1 2 printed, yes, valid only. The next one is like print location, print location. Now tell me, exception raised in which block? Exception raised in which block?
Try block.
Try block. Whenever the exception raised, it is looking for what? Corresponding accept block. So accept block is there. My accept block, whenever the exception raised, the accept block is going to execute. Whenever the accept block executed, line number 7, initiate the execution or not. Print to runs. Runs there or not there?
Not there.
Not there. Then what happened? Name runs is not defined. Name runs is not defined. Now again the exception raised, but this statement not inside the try block, right? This statement is not inside the try block. That's the reason this exception, line number 7 exception, raised in the try block or outside the try block? Exception raised in the try block or outside the try block? Line number 7. Line number 4, exception raised inside the try block or outside the try block? Come on. Line number 4, inside the try block exception raised outside? Inside the try block, right? Whenever try block raises an exception, it is looking for the accept. Okay. Whenever the exception raised not in the try block, then the time it means you not handle that exception. If you not handle that exception, the program terminated like abnormal or normal? The program terminated like abnormal or normal? Abnormal. Whenever it's like an abnormal termination, remaining statements, whatever you have, those are not executed and terminated entire program from there itself or not. That's the reason. See, name runs is not defined. Okay, from there itself, it's just came out or not. Agreed? Yes or no? Agreed?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Okay then. So there may be a chance of raising an exception in the except block. Yes, no. The statement is valid or invalid. There may be a chance of raising an exception in the except block. Valid or invalid? Come on. Valid or invalid? Come on. There may be a chance of raise an exception in the except block. Possibility there or not there? You should not like that, but possibility there or not there? Possibility there or not there? Yes, there is a possibility is there. My except block also can raise an exception. Can raise an exception. So how we can handle it? Now I'm going to write like this. I'm going to write like this. Is it valid syntax or invalid syntax? You only tell. Is it valid or invalid? Come on. Is it valid or
Valid.
invalid? Okay, 100% valid. Now see this. 1 or 2 executed. My exception raised. So remaining statements not executed directly comes to which block? Except block. In the except block, okay, first try is there. Try block initiate the execution. Yes. And again exception raised. This try looking for, okay, this except. Yes, except inside the except got executed. After that, okay, next statement is what? You handle the exception. So program not terminated abnormal. The next one is what? Print except block. Okay, after that 4 and 5. Yes or no? So this particular syntax is like valid or not? This syntax is like 100% valid. Understood? Got my point? Okay. Now tell me some statements about the try block. Inside the try block, what do you want me to write? Problematic statements or not? Problematic statements you can write. Problematic statements you can write. Come on. It initiate the execution or not? Initiate the execution or not? Okay. Now all the statements in the try block will execute or not? Try should follow what? Or finally. Otherwise, you can get what? Syntax error or not? Yes or no? All the statements in try block will execute. Okay, valid or invalid? Valid or invalid? All the statements in try block will execute. Valid or invalid? Come on. All the statements always execute. All the statements always execute. No, whenever exception rises, from there itself it is going to terminate or not? From there itself it is going to terminate or not? Yes, no? Agreed?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Okay then. So inside the try block, any number of statements we can write it. There is no restrictions, nothing, but recommended to write problematic statements. Why, see this. This one only can take it. Is line number 5 is problematic statement or not? Line number 5, it's a clean, right? Okay, print a value. It's not a problematic statement. If it is not a problematic statement, why you written in the try block? Because of this particular statement, this statement, which is like very clean statement, that is not executed, right? So, is it right way? No, right? So that don't write a problematic statements at any time in the try block. It's not a recommended one because of problematic statement. Okay, don't write not okay normal clean statements inside the try block. Why? Because of problematic statement rising an exception, remaining all normal statements also not executed. Why? Because the try block is going to terminate the execution from there itself whenever exception rises. Yes, no. Okay, so if I write this 55 outside the try block like this, then what happened? Then what happened? This particular statement execute every time or not. Exception you handle properly, then the time this particular statement is going to execute or not. Yes or no? Come on. Now, if I write like this, now see, my exception raised, you handle, that's okay, fine. My 55, it's like not a problematic statement, it's a clean statement. The statement got executed or not. In the past, you written the statement in the try block. Because of this statement, okay, my program, okay, my try block terminated the execution so that my 55 not executed or not. Agreed? Come on. All right, okay.
Yes.
Hmm? Okay, then remaining things we'll see in the next session. Okay. You can join 6:40 like that, okay? Tomorrow, Praveen.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay then. Thank you guys.